Hi, I'm Paul Lindsay. Let's talk. That's the name of this new podcast, and I hope that you'll find it a fun and interesting podcast. We are going to, in this program, try to cover things of interest. Now, of course, if you do not know me, I'm Paul Lindsay. I have, for most of my life, been a broadcaster. I've been on the radio since the late 70s. There have been times, of course, that I wasn't on, but I was on and have been on for quite some time, the late 70s. And I grew up in a town called Greer, South Carolina. Those of you who are here in the upstate of South Carolina, of course, know where Greer is. BMW is now in Greer. You have the Greenville-Spartanburg International Airport, and a lot of other interesting landmarks that are in Greer. And for those, again, who do not know me, I grew up on a road that it was a mill village, and it was an interesting place to grow up. Went to a school called Duke Street Elementary School. Now, if you look it up, you're not going to find it. They tore it down quite a number of years ago. Went on to Greer Middle School, and of course on to high school. And you will find a lot of discussion in this podcast, really a lot of media, because that's really what my life's been about, is broadcasting. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, fell in love with radio when I was a small boy in the late 1960s. And what I did, my mom took me to where a remote broadcast was being held in our town of Greer. I went, had to see what was going on, and they let me up into the van, and I saw that they were doing everything from there. They had a microphone, they had turntables, they have cart machines. So first thing I do as soon as we get back home, I pull out my record player. I find an 8-track tape player. Yes, I'm that old. We had 8-track tape players, and pulled that out. Found a screwdriver, and that was my microphone. And I, from that period on, started broadcasting in my bedroom. And I created a radio station that I called WNTC. Where I came up with that, have no clue. But that's what happened. And then in later years, I became involved in television, a lot in front of the camera, and later behind the camera. We can discuss that as time goes on in this podcast. I'm married to Charlene. We've been married since April 6, 1991. Yeah, we've been married for well over 30 years. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is Amanda. Our middle child is Destiny Hope. She goes by Hope. And our youngest is Aaron. And we have, of course, two girls and a boy. And my middle one, Destiny Hope, made me a grandfather. Charlene and I, grandparents of two wonderful grandkids. Love those kids. You know, what can you say about your grandkids? Anyone who knows or has grandkids, you know what I'm talking about. Just, you love them. There's nothing like your grandbabies. There's the thought that if we could have had the grandbabies first, we would have done that. And yeah, in some ways I see that, but I still love my kids. Jamie is my granddaughter, and Kellen, that's her little brother. Just awesome kids. Now, getting to the podcast now. As I said, I've been in radio for a long time, well over 40 years. And I wanted to continue because with a podcast, I can talk to you at any point that you decide to listen. I want to really just have it open-ended. The reason I call it Let's Talk is let's talk about whatever's on your mind, whether it's political, whether it's church-related, whether it's music, whatever we need to discuss, we'll talk about it. And sometimes it'll just be me talking to you about something that I may have come across, something that I have found interesting that I feel like maybe you would like. Maybe something has happened that we need to talk about. At other times, we'll be talking to people. We'll have interviews. I've already talked with some who have an interest in doing it. Some will be live. Some will be over the phone. Some will be in other settings. So we've got a lot of things in mind. Plan to go on location and talk with people out wherever they are. And we'll discuss, as I say, what I hope will be interesting to you. As you know, there's a lot of podcasts out there. I was searching through several podcasts a while back and I shouldn't have been, I guess, but there were so many, and there's so many platforms that podcasts can be found on. I can name all of them. You may or may not even have an interest in that. But the plan is to bring you what we feel like is pertinent information, something that you will find helpful. And again, we'll be talking to people. We'll discuss subjects. There's a lot we can do with a podcast. I have a cousin who has a podcast who used to do a morning radio show here in the upstate of South Carolina, and now he's doing really well with his podcast. And his is more of a political, current affairs type program. And as I say, he has done very, very well with it. But here on Let's Talk is let's talk about whatever's on your mind. And there's a lot of opportunities we have. So if you want to reach out and touch base with me, we don't have a website or any certain way to reach out to you in that way. Not yet. We'll see where this goes. So if you want to touch base, you can. Just email me at paullindsaymedia@gmail.com. That's Paul, P-A-U-L, Lindsay, L-I-N-D-S-A-Y, media@gmail.com. paullindsaymedia@gmail.com. So reach out, and I'll look to hear from you. And if you've got ideas of something that you would like to hear on the podcast, reach out and stay in touch. I'm Paul Lindsay.